So today's class, we're going to work on downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana in Sanskrit. So we want to just touch on a few things that may help you feel more comfortable in your downward facing dog. Patricia will be assisting me here today. Thank you, Patricia. So coming to your hands and your knees, please. You want to make sure that your knees are directly under your hips. So if you look from the knees down, it's a straight line down to the hips, and the knees are also hips width apart. Then checking out the hands. We want to bring the middle of your hand about in line with the outer edge of your shoulder. And then we're going to just turn the hands slightly out. Just rotate them out a little bit so that the index finger, the one next to the thumb, is pointed straight forward, and the next one, the middle finger, is turned slightly outwards. Yes. Then I'm going to ask Patricia to really make sure that all four corners of the hands are firmly grounded. Yes, so we're just setting up the foundation for your downward facing dog. Now curling your toes under, push your buttocks back to your heels and come into extended child's pose. Yes, now then, beautiful. So we want to begin to stretch and open the arches in the metatarsals. So lift your elbows and your forearms. Good. If you feel like you need to stretch your hands a little further forward, go ahead and do that, because now we're setting up the proper amount of space between the hands and the feet for your downward facing dog. Good. Now let the heart just melt down a little bit and really push with your hands into the mat. That's it. So you feel your buttocks pushing back and down, stretching and opening the feet and the ankles and the toes. Very nice. So we're going to take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, I want you to just lift your knees and just come on up into downward facing dog. It sort of looks like a big triangle with your hips up in the air. Yes. Very nice. Good. So a few things we want to point out here. We'll begin with the upper body, so keep this inside edge of your hand, the space between thumb and index finger, keep that pressing down. If you can lift yours up for me for a moment, Patricia, so we can just see. Very often we're rocking the weight onto the outer edge of the hand here. Yeah, so you want to just really press this base of the index finger down. Good. And then all 10 fingertips are going to really ground down into your mat. Beautiful. Take a deep breath in, and now as you exhale, I'm going to ask her to let her head move under and look towards her belly button. Now you see, for her, that already elongated her spine. That may or may not be the case for you, so honor your own body and your own practice. So if yours is not this straight, that's fine. We're working on that, and it will come over time. So looking towards the belly button here. Good. Now you see her shoulders rotated inward, so what we want them to do is rotate outward, away from the neck. So we're creating space between the neck and the shoulders. Very nice. Good. Now, because Patricia's very flexible here, she has the opposite situation. Many of us are rounding the spine towards the front of the mat. Hers is arching the opposite way. So go ahead and go into your full, what feels like a nice down dog for you. Yes. Now you can see how her back is curving into a little bit of a back bend. So I'm going to ask her to bring her ribs away from my fingers. Not quite that much, and there we go. That's where her spine is nice and long. Should feel very open and relaxed. So her hips are lifted because she's really pressing with the hands, so you want the hips lifted up. Your hips may not be this open, so you might be a little more curved, a little more rounded in your lower back, and that's fine. If that's happening for you, you can just simply bend the knees and get the spine to lengthen more, and work with the knees bent until you get the hips and the back open. Then eventually you'll straighten the knees again. So she can go ahead and straighten her knees. Good. And then we want to think about, what are the feet and legs doing in downward facing dog? Many of us just really love to hate down dog because it's very tiring in the upper body, right? That's a good sign that our lower body isn't working enough. So when you look at the feet and legs, the first thing I want to pay attention to here is where the heels are. We don't have to put the heel on the floor. It's not necessary, but what I do want to see happening here is the ankle, reaching back through the ankle towards the back of the mat, which is then going to release the heel down more. Her heels do touch the floor, that's fine. And once your heels touch the floor, sometimes you might need to walk your feet back an inch or two to give more room to lengthen her spine. For her, this is about right. But the heel reaching back towards the back of the mat, the ankle reaching back towards the back of the mat, and releasing the heel down as far as it will comfortably go without straining, without forcing. Yeah? Good. So then the next thing we want to look at here is the kneecap. So we want to make sure the legs are working. So let that kneecap relax for me for a moment. There we go. Yep, so she's still reaching back through her ankles, but her knee isn't really working. So I want you to just lift up on the kneecap, engage the thigh. That's it. And did you see how that just sort of pulled her back? And so that's what you want to feel. When you lift the kneecaps, engage the thighs, it's almost as if someone was back here grabbing your thighs and pulling back on you. And you may have had a teacher do that for you in class, and that's why. They're trying to get the legs working. So think of moving your femur bone towards the back of your thigh so that the legs begin to work equally with the arms. Beautiful. And so now we have a nice aligned downward facing dog. So the upper body and the lower body are working together, and this whole posture begins to feel a lot more comfortable. Once you're done with that, make sure you take some nice deep breaths in and out through the nose, and then come down into child's pose to rest your upper body. So toes together, knees apart, sit back on your heels, forehead down. Take your arms back beside your feet so that your upper arms and your shoulders can relax. And hopefully, little by little, you just take these points, a few today, a few the next time, and work on each little bit, integrating that into your downward facing dog until finally one day you no longer hate downward dog, you love it, and it does actually feel like a resting pose, as you may have heard your yoga teachers say, and sometimes it doesn't feel restful, but once you get all these little points happening for you, you'll find that it is very restful, very comfortable position. Brings lots of oxygenated blood to your brain, lots of good things happening, strengthening the upper body, stretching the back of the body. So many good things happening in downward dog. So hopefully you will enjoy it more after this practice.